Pray. Lord, we come this evening thanking you for all the beautiful things in life you continue to bestow upon us. We pray for your strength and pray for you to bless our hearts and our minds as we go through this pandemic. We pray you continue to bring us closer together as we increase our faith in you. We thank you for all the men and women of our armed forces who serve this great nation as we celebrate Veterans Day. We pray for your blessings upon us as we prepare to celebrate Thanksgiving. Every day knowing that you are our God and you're part of our lives is a day of Thanksgiving. Now we pray your blessings upon this meeting as we begin this evening, and we ask all that we ask in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. For his sake we do pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Director, Mr. Molinak. Before we get started with the meeting, I would like everybody to join me in a moment of silence for Cody Marshall, one of our students who tragically lost his life last week. As educators and board members, we're committed to the education of our children in this community, all children. If you'll please join me quickly. Thank you. Agenda item 2 is public testimony. Okay. Ms. Flores, you'll come up to the microphone and state your name, your address, and let me give you a quick disclaimer real quick.
I say my name and address?
Yeah, just give me 1 second.
Oh, okay.
I need to get- Regarding public testimony pursuant to Board Policy BED, the board will allow every person who wishes to address the board on an agenda item to do so before the board's consideration of the item. The board shall not deliberate any subject that is not included on the agenda posted with notice of this meeting. This is a time for the board to stop, look, and listen to public comments. Each speaker will be allowed 3 minutes to address the board. We ask that speakers refrain from any comments about any district employee without proper due process. So this is your opportunity to speak to us. Just so you understand, because it's not on the agenda, we'll listen, but we really can't get into a conversation with you about it. Okay.
I'm Marissa Flores. Thank you for letting me speak today. I'd like to discuss how not being able to participate in our health science program due to a lack of replacement has potentially affected my future and current academic standing. I'm currently second in my class and have recently been automatically admitted into the University of Texas at Austin, where I'm waiting to hear back on my acceptance into the School of Nursing. My senior year is supposed to be filled earning 2 more certifications that would benefit my nursing career, but because we haven't found an adequate health science replacement, I'm currently sitting in a classroom for 2 hours out of my school day that should be my senior year health science practicum course. I completed my junior year earning my EKG and phlebotomy certifications. I was the only one to pass my EKG exam and 1 out of 5 that passed the phlebotomy exam. The senior health science class has been given the opportunity to retake their EKG course this semester, where I have to sit in a classroom that isn't benefiting my GPA and my future degree plan. I want students to feel confident towards their goals, academic success, along with support from counselors, administration, and school board. And I'm asking what can be done so future students don't have to go through what I'm currently dealing with. That's all.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Listen, we appreciate you coming before us. Agenda item 3 are the district recognitions. First item is Panthers and Employees of the Month for the month of November.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to begin first by recognizing a special group before we go into the other set of, and I'd like to just read something to you about this group. In a crisis, a leader's impact extends beyond the official capacity to become the face of courage for many people because they reveal an authenticity and urgency that reflects what people are feeling. Leaders must be compassionate and allow others to influence in their own ways and listen through actions. Leadership focus has shifted during this crisis. It has become more about breaking down barriers and giving people the freedom to create previously unseen opportunities in order to elevate the capacity of our staff members and the capacity of the organization for the sake of our students. Our campus leaders have shown this type of courage, compassion, and learner-centered focus as they lead their campus teams, their students, and the families through these unprecedented times. It is with a heart filled with gratitude and admiration that I would like to recognize our APISD campus principals tonight. So if you please stand. And we have a little presentation for you. Ms. Hale is not here tonight because she is at Cody's Memorial. But these are our campus principals, and we normally have Principals Month. I believe it's in October. That was missed. So I wanted tonight to take time to recognize their leadership in some very difficult times.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Now moving on to our other Panther and Employees of the Month for November. For Panthers of the Month, as you know, we don't have them here with us. We'll show a short video so you can see some of their smiling faces. They received their awards on campuses. But our Panthers of the Month for November 2021 are Kira Colaminero at Falk Elementary, Layla Rosa at Charlie Marshall, Romeo Mendez at AC Blunt, and Lloyd Nichols at the high school. Our Employees of the Month for November are Naomi Stevens at Falk, Laura Decker, Charlie Marshall, Delisha Wood, AC Blunt, Michael Todd at the high school, and of course our principals, and Corbin Wilson, Maintenance and Transportation. We have a short video of their presentations. Congratulations to all of those. Next, we have a Veterans Day recognition we would like to give, and we have a short video also on this, just as we think about what this means for us and our country. If you're a veteran, we'd like to ask that you stand so we can recognize you. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You booked a cozy Verbo mountain cabin with a kitchen where
Leave it on.
Agenda item number 4, the superintendent reports. First report we have is the construction update. I believe Todd's here.
Yes.
Welcome, Todd.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to give the report. If you've got a copy of it in front of you, hopefully, coming to the end of these projects here, we did a punch list, and on both buildings out there, they were substantially complete on September the 10th. When we turned them over to the school district, we've checked them. Pretty much everything's been completed on those 2 buildings. We've still got a few things left on the netting that has to be done. Starts on Wednesday, and they should be finished in about a week. So pretty much everything should be finished in about a week's time. Landscape contractor will begin his work shortly. Fencing contractor should be complete. All the concrete walks have been poured. Multi-Chem is, I guess, working on all the ball field, both of the fields at this time. And the press box bleachers are all installed. We still got to punch those buildings and the bleachers and such. And then our hopefully maybe last construction meeting will be on November the 17th. And I'm here to answer any questions or anything you've got to.
I just had one, and I know with the last rainfall that we had, came down so fast, flooded the whole town, but I noticed the football field had a lot more water than it's ever had before. Was that just due to the fact that we had so much rain so quickly, or have we caused something with the construction that we have to address later?
We should have been improving that, actually. We actually put perimeter drains on the south end of the field, so those tie into the storm drain. There may have been debris in the storm drain they hadn't cleared out yet, or there could be silt fences that are keeping some sand in there. I know they had some of them covered, so they're trying to get all those uncovered and flushed out. So I'm guessing maybe that's possibly what it could be.
So Wayne, if you'll come to the microphone, did y'all notice the same thing? Yes? Okay.
Yes, sir. Coach Taylor had some pictures of it, but I think we asked Vince and Pat about it, and they do have some of those still covered to keep as much debris out of them as they could. But that was a lot of rain, and between the rain amount and some of those being covered, it didn't drain as it should. But it should. We were assured once those are uncovered that it will drain accordingly.
Okay,
That's right.
so that's something we're going to keep an eye on the next rain.
That's right.
If
Yeah.
we need to readdress with the contractor.
Yes.
Anybody else have any questions?
Well, behind the field house, there's a couple of spots I noticed that I don't know whether the drain was there, but one of them was even holding water. There's a big puddle of water right behind the field house and the softball fields. And there's another one by the left field fence over back that way. There's a big dip in the ground, but it looked like there may have been a drain there, but it was covered up with dirt. So I'm not sure if that's a problem. I didn't check to see if it was a drain there or not, so I'm not sure if that's a problem or not. So just something to check into to make sure it drains in those areas.
Yeah, so they've got, like I said, those drains covered so they don't get sand in them. So really, once the vegetation takes over, you won't have the sand issue and the silt fence will go away.
Well, it didn't look like there's anything there. It was just sand, and then it looked like it was maybe like an inch or two sand over the top of whatever was in there. But it looked like it was draining, like it was draining in those spots, but
Slow.
It was closed up, and one of them
Right.
wasn't draining at all. So
We'll take a look at it. Yes, sir.
Did we notice if the problematic area we had on the softball field and left field over the years, did it seem like it drained pretty good, Wayne? Okay,
yeah, there wasn't any water out there at all.
okay, good. I saw the water over there, I stopped looking. Anybody have any other questions? Thank you, Ty, we appreciate it.
So as a part of the construction update, we did want to bring to you the next piece with the APISD sports facilities list of items. These are some things that were not a part of the original project. And we wanted to bring these to you as we are nearing the completion of this project to see, our recommendation is these are things that we feel would definitely finish out the project with, I think, the level of attention that you're wanting. And these are things that some have been discussed before, others we've just kind of put aside, others haven't been. So you'll see in the description, I can go through them one by one or just answer your questions. I think you have that document. We have it on the screen now. These are all with quotes that we have received. We are still working on getting a second quote for the sound system. Our current sound system is beyond repair now. So we're working to get a second quote in hopes that it's a little bit less. There are 2 quotes that did not make it in by tonight, which is one for the hydro mulch areas not seeded around the complex and the fencing and gates at the field house to the softball to close the perimeter off completely. At your place, you have for these irrigation, you know, we have the irrigation, you have this map. We have the irrigation that is been done on the fields, but you see all that's in the orange, pink type color. That is areas that now is sand or dirt. We'll have some vegetation going in, but otherwise, if we do not do irrigation and do some hydro mulch, our fear is that a lot of that's going to wash off, drain off, go into these inlets. So that's where you see irrigation. This is above and beyond the other irrigation. All of these things, you know, really could we still do things? I think our batting cage turf, what we currently have is very old. I don't think we want to put old turf back on in a new area. The windscreen and backstop pads are definitely they're needed, and these would be, do we have pictures of those? These would actually be, as you see here, would really add to the look that we've all discussed over time to have the Panther Pride showing. The first one would be the softball backstop pad. Then the longer one would say Lady Panthers, I believe is what we say Panther softball or Lady Panthers softball on the windscreen in the outfield. Then you have the baseball. Yeah, there you go. You see the backstop. You see what the outside windscreen would look like. And that's what this cost is, would be all of that for both the softball and the baseball is how much that would cost for us to do that. Kind of pull it all together with our purple, with our logo. The field house fencing is actually going to be done in-house by our maintenance crew. This is some of the old wood that's surrounding some of the air conditioning units behind the field house. Some of the boards need to be replaced. It needs to be restained and look very nice. It was very noticeable. That kind of stands out now when you have all the new things and then you have that there. So that was to make that look better. Of course, new flag poles and flags. The irrigation, as I mentioned, by the map that you were given. Bullpen install. Part of the project was to put the fences up, and they have the form set. I guess that's what you call that. But the actual putting the dirt in, building the mounds and so forth, that would have to be done. And we reached out to Multichem, and this is how much it would cost to finish those out. I mentioned the sound system. This is our first quote. We're trying to go out for a second quote. The Dugout King helmet bats. This was brought before at the very first of the project. Here you see what they would look like. The price here is for them to be in both both the visitor and the home dugouts. But you could just do home dugout if you want, or none. I think this was left off before. But we wanted to bring it back again because we did feel like to finish that out nicely as we feel like it should be, those really need to be in there. And then, of course, the yellow poly caps on the fencing. and then a pump repair for the irrigation system. This is the irrigation system for, let me confirm that, is this the irrigation system for the new irrigation, right? Or is it coming over here?
It's for the new irrigation.
Okay, okay. For the what we have here.
It's to service, it's to supply that irrigation zone.
I'm sorry, what would the pump repair do?
You want to come and speak to that, Charlie?
We currently have the new storage tank that we put up over there. That is designed to supply the football field, the stadium, the practice, the varsity practice field, and the baseball field, dedicated to those areas. We do have 3 additional smaller wells behind the old tractor barn that's now rebuilt, and that's what that is, to combine all those to supply this new irrigation zones that we're proposing that we need to put in. And also, as well, we're going to also baffle it in so it supplies the irrigation for the junior high practice field over here as well. Okay, and that's the plan right now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Anything else?
Those pump areas that you're talking about, right here, Charlie.
I'm sorry.
You're talking about the old system.
No,
The ones that are behind
the-
the old maintenance.
the old maintenance building,
There's 3
tractor
of them. Are
barn.
we
There was
fencing
3 of
those
them.
there-
Right, there's
those
3
areas?
wells right there.
Are we fencing those in? to
Yes,
kind
we
of-
will.
okay.
Yeah, absolutely. We were kicking around some different tanks, and our well contractor, the only guy around here, Mike's, and he actually his father poked those wells years ago. Okay, and he was telling me the whole story, but he says it's not necessary to get bigger tanks. It's got 2 metal tanks and 3 fiberglass tanks. The fiberglass tanks are trash; they need to go. But he says with baffling them all together, it should be enough with those 2 tanks just to service what we need, that additional irrigation area and going across the street.
Right. Well, no, I walked the area. One of my concerns was now because we're going to have more foot traffic through that area. I can see one of my knuckleheads.
No, that was our plan, to cover them up.
My knuckleheads running around jumping on the PVC.
Absolutely.
busting it, so,
Yeah, we're gonna get all that fenced in.
Okay.
That's part of the plan. Okay. Anything else?
Anybody have any other questions?
Yeah, I had one, and I think Mr. Bennett and I were looking at it the other day over there by the field house. There's 2 open areas, one on each side of the field house. They're not fenced in. If we're going to fence in the perimeter, is that included in the perimeter fence, or is that not?
That's
The additional fencing.
fencing that
So
we
that's
don't
going to
have
be
the
the wood
quote
fence now?
for.
So we're
No,
going to put a wood?
no, it's gonna be, I'll go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, you're right.
Yeah. The additional to kind of cordon off the sports complex is gonna be the chain link to match everything else.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
I
yes.
thought you were talking
Right.
about a wood fence.
Now,
behind
behind the weight barn and the boys' field house, they've gotten those wood fencing to cover up the HVAC units. Those are dilapidated, and that's what we're gonna do in-house. Those
Okay.
are wood fence.
All right.
Okay.
That's the field house fencing, and then you'll see at the bottom of the quotes, we have, it says getting quote for fencing and gates at field house to softball. That is what we're waiting on. So we still have these 3 quotes that we were waiting on. We didn't get them by tonight.
And I've contacted all those contractors. We're just waiting on their bids right now. So they'll be here. I'll get them to you as soon as I can. Okay,
Thank you.
okay.
So where we are in this is that, one, we can just wait on this and until we get all the quotes and come back, but it will, the lead time to get things in and get things moving is very difficult. So the sooner we can get on the books, the better, and plus quotes only last for so long. So that's why later in the meeting, we have brought to you a budget amendment, and we put it at 100,000. And that's, we're kind of estimating what we think the rest is going to come in at. And if we fall short, then we're just going to have to find in the budget somehow to make it happen, because I don't want to come back to you for another budget amendment. So if you want to, we could raise it a little or go, but we thought if we could at least, if you all agreed that this was all important, and when we get to the budget amendment, we would like to ask for 100,000. You say, well, where's that coming from? Well, I'll go ahead and explain that now. When we moved over funding, the 3 million something that we moved in from fund balance for this project. We underspent by $368,000. And so that automatically at the end of the budget year, which is August, goes back into fund balance. So what we're basically asking is coming back and part of that 368,000 asking for 100,000 to come back over into this year's budget to cover this cost. So it's you pretty much had approved that 328 before, but because of the way the bookkeeping has to happen, it went back, and so we have to come back to you to ask that to be moved over. And then I think it's best for you to see, are these things that you want to have that money spent on, or do you want to leave that money in fund balance? So that's kind of like a discussion here on these items, what you want or don't want. And then when we get to the budget item and action item, are you good with 100, or do you think you want to add a little bit more? Because I really don't know where the mulch or the fencing are going to come in at. So we just rounded it to 100 is kind of how we came up with it.
And please just keep in mind, because of our times right now, the supply chain, pardon the pun, but chain link fence, that's hard to get right now, you know? And so we got to make a decision we're going to do so we can get it ordered, okay? Because that's going to take time to get to us. And anything else that we got additional on here as well, okay?
Well, and plus also putting the turf down around that spot where there's no grass, that's gonna, it's gonna be further erosion from all the soil and stuff
Exactly.
that you got built up. So it's gonna create more drainage problems if we don't do something to fix
Right.
it now,
Yes.
so.
Yeah. I mean, it'll eventually, our
Grow up.
native grass will take over, but it's going to take time,
It's gonna take,
you know?
it's gonna take
Yeah.
the summertime to do
Right,
that, so.
Yeah.
at least.
We got the winter with all the rain coming, so.
Right. I mean, we're in a dormant season right now because of the weather, so. Anything else? Okay.
I just had a question on the backstops. So softball is 5,400 and baseball is 65. I didn't get to see those. Are they different or different vendors?
Wayne, did you want to speak to that? What's a different price?
It's the second item, the windscreen and backstop pad.
Here, I have it right here if you want to.
It's because of different sizes, I assume.
Yeah, it's probably, that's
Yeah,
what I was
because
thinking,
of
it's just
the
a
linear
size
feet.
thing.
Yeah.
It's a size for the field. Okay.
Baseball feels a bit bigger than the
Okay.
Mhm.
I just wanted to double check.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay. Next item is the enrollment and attendance COVID-19 reports.
You have those reports in your handouts. We've given you back from the start of school for our case totals. As you see, they have, we have weeks that have gone by where we had 0 to just 1 case. So that the decline is definitely happening for us. We're very thankful for that. And then, of course, our enrollment is, as of last Friday, was the second highest of we're up to 1680, which is, I think we were 1682, if I remember. I didn't print that off. But our enrollment is going back up and getting to its highest points for the year. And our attendance rate, we have seen many days now at 95% and above. A few dips here and there for a couple last week due to a few incidents in our school system, but I think we're thankful, and it's looking like we're on an upward turn now. Any questions?
Do you have any questions?
We may not know the answer to this, but does that snapshot number change us in district reorganize?
No, it does
Does
not.
not change
No,
us.
I've put all that in, and we're still well below, so we will stay
All right.
the same classification.
Hopefully.
Better to be a big fish in the pond than the little fish.
Exactly.
Right, Coach? Now the students may come, as many as can come, but we did need them to come before snapshot at high school.
Next item is the 2021 ESL Program Evaluation.
This is an evaluation we bring each year to you. and I gave you the handouts in your packet. I'm just going to real quickly touch on a few things. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them. Basically, our English is second language program in pre-K to 1 is students receive instruction from an ESL certified teacher in a self-contained classroom, where 2 through 12 have a pull-out program receiving instruction from an ESL certified teacher. You see that we have 9.3% of our APISD students are considered LEP students. That's 151 students, meaning limited English proficiency. Our progress, and of course, as we start pulling these numbers out from last year, always keeping in mind of where we were and what was happening, because these are definitely not numbers that we like to look at or see, but we have to deal with the reality of what this pandemic has done. So you'll notice that our 2021 STAR results for ELL compared to all students for reading and math. At Charlie Marshall, the ELL is actually scored higher than all students. AC Blunt, they were right there, a little lower in one, a little higher in the other, but staying very close to all students. At the high school, we did see a significant difference between those that are ELLs and all students. Some of this, as we've began looking at, we always evaluate our programs. So that's first, is we have to evaluate first and foremost at the high school is a total pullout, supplemental piece. So evaluating how that program's working and how those students at that age level are attending to the task and receiving the support. We do see a lot of student apathy, especially with students that are at this engaged in this type of support. Sometimes they don't want to have that support. They kind of push back on it because they don't like to be pulled out or lose an elective and so forth. So these are things we have to look at, is how do we provide the support for these students that is engaging for them and helps them to be successful. In some areas, it's like, okay, that's didn't dip as bad as we thought it could have, but other areas, definitely areas of concern and working and have been working all year on that. Our ESL English proficiency, this is basically they're tested in reading, listening, speaking, and writing. They look at beginning, they're scored beginning, intermediate, advanced, or advanced high is what they are tested in. And you'll see here the difference between 20 to 21, our K through 2 students progressing to at least level 1 dipped quite significantly, as well as our 3 through 12th grade. Advanced high stayed about the same, with our 3rd through 12th grade advanced high going up dramatically. It was kind of all over the place, which is very interesting. So drilling down and trying to figure out what exactly is happening. Of course, you also have to remember you're looking at different cohorts of students, and so sometimes that can be a significance. The TELPAS testing was unable to be concluded last year because of COVID. And then our final thing, when we look at whether we need a waiver for ESL certifications, in 2020, we still had 12 teachers that were teaching students under an ESL waiver. And you see the different numbers at campuses. We've been working diligently the past 3 years to get all of our teachers ESL certified that would be teaching students that need this service. So during 2021, you'll see that all of our ESL students at Falk Elementary were placed with an ESL certified teacher. We had one teacher at Charlie Marshall that became ESL certified, and the students of the other teachers were placed with this certified teacher. The teacher at AC Blunt Middle School became ESL certified, and we had 3 teachers at the high school became ESL certified, which brought our numbers to having 0 students for 2021 school year with a teacher that was not ESL certified. So we're working diligently each year to get everyone that needs to be certified, so we have more groups of teachers that can handle those, or not handle, but to bring to those students what they need, and to make sure we're placing the students correctly. So a summation of this is there's still a lot of work to be done, and of course it has been compounded by the lack of time with students that we had through COVID. So we'll be talking many, many more days about this, many more board members as we bring in all of our different scores. This is basically looking back. What we're trying to do now is look at our what's happening now as we move forward, and how we'll be bringing that to you over the next several months. You have any questions?
Oh, I do have one question. Is this an area that we can use? We just had a little bit of ESSER funds left.
Mm-hmm.
Is this something that we can pull, especially at the high school with those lower numbers from last year? To utilize ESSER funds?
Oh, well, the ESSER funds are being used, yes, to meet all students, whether ESL. So yes, we'll look at any student that's struggling in any area, and
Okay.
they're going to receive the support that whatever they're needing. So and the principals have been working on their plans and have already implemented many of the things for tutoring, for extra support, for having staff members that are focusing in on those areas. So yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? The next item is item D, the first reading of the district-initiated local policy changes affecting policies DC, employment practices, and FDA admissions inter-district transfers. So just for clarification, when we have policy updates, we normally have an update that's initiated by TASB, and that's usually once a year we'll have those updates. This is being requested locally by administration for these two areas. And Ms. Coco gives you an explanation of what she's looking for, or why she's requesting it.
Okay, first of all, we have DC local, and you'll see in that one, we sent this to TASB policy, and they kind of told them what we were looking at. This comes off the cusp of how we had to have that special meeting. I had to ask you to try to hurry and get here because the market is slim out there for educators and for anyone to take positions in our district. So we're all kind of trying to pull them in as quickly as possible. So the sooner I can give them a contract and hire them in, the better it would be. So that's kind of where this came from, is because during the summer months, where most of the hiring is done, that's as you see what the policy had, it was to hire employ classroom teachers, and then I would bring that to you at the next board meeting as to when to who had been hired. When we asked TASB to do this, she went pretty much to the other extreme and has put this final authority for all contractual personnel. And I don't know why, but left out informing the board. I think she probably thought that's just give me, because a superintendent will always inform the board of anyone that's being hired. But I gave you at your place some other options for consideration that I think are more reflective. I think this was going a little too far to that extreme. So you'll see the first one was TASB's recommendation with the addition of the superintendent shall inform the board of any persons offered a contract under this authority. With this first one, the authority would be to hire any employees and then bring it to your attention. This would include, the way it was written by TASB, would even be administrators. I know that may not be, especially since our former policy did not have that even during the summer for administrators. The second alternate recommendation is give the superintendent the final authority for employment of all personnel, excluding administrators, and then adding that part about, then of course that you would be notified at the next board meeting of those employment. So those are two things I'd like you just to consider. I think it would just help us be able to be on top of things and handle, especially for any personnel excluding administrators. Administrators, sometimes that's have a little more time for that. It's not as urgent, you might say, as it is with other personnel. So if I could at least have that, I think that would help us in light of the new times we have of being out there in the market. Any questions on that one for your consideration? Like Mr. Galvan said, this tonight is just talk and discuss, and you kind of give me some feedback, and then we'll bring back to you at the next board meeting a action item reflective of the discussion.
So we'll have this, the second reading will be for the one for approval.
Yes.
I think the process and the game has changed as far as employees, and there being teachers as being a shortage of them, so I definitely can see that. I think when it comes to forming the team that the superintendent is recommending as far as administrators, that builds really highly into the culture that we're building. I think the board should still maintain some oversight and approval in that process. Again, that's my perspective. So at a minimum, I would hope that we would grant what she's asking for with the teachers and still retain the oversight, the final approval on the administrators. Any other comments?
So do we need to give direction tonight for the next
Yes.
next one to come back
Yeah,
as a
she's
formal
just trying to
read?
get a feel
Okay.
for where we're at.
I agree with the alternate recommendation.
Okay. All right, we'll have TASB pull that together and bring it back for your final read at the next board meeting. The FDA local, this is when we did our District of Innovation, we basically put this in as an option, and we feel that it is necessary also, once again, in protecting. It's not that we want to keep people out or kick people out of our district, but we feel like our first priority are our students that live in district. When transfer students come in, the current policy as it's written without a DOI is, as you see marked out, transfers shall be granted for one regular school year at a time. We kind of watched this to see if this was really necessary, but we do see sometimes it is problematic that some come in, they might be having difficulty in another district, they come in and then here, and it didn't show up until they get here, and then our administrators are spending a lot of their time working with this child that's out of district instead of being able to give their attention to those that are in district. So it's not, we want people to come and be here, but when they come as transfers especially, they have high standards and they need to adhere to that. This change would say once a transfer is approved to a school, and as long as the student is continuously enrolled at that district school and abides by the transfer agreement, the student shall be allowed to complete his or her academic program at that district school unless the transfer is revoked. It gives us the option now to look at the student's progress or lack thereof, and it's not immediate. The principals work diligently to try to help the students, help the parents, but if they see after they've gone through the process and they're not meeting our criteria, we would like to be able to have in policy the ability to revoke that transfer, and they would go back to their home district.
So Ms. Cook, I agree 100%, but does the policy have a provision on who approves the final revocation? Is that at the campus level or at your office?
Well, when they have transfers, I approve them, and so if we put this in place, it will be the same thing. The principals will initiate it, and then we'll have a process. It'll come to me. I will look at it and make the final decision.
For the revocation?
Yes.
Okay.
It'd be just a backwards effect of the way they came into the
So
district.
the only difference is they don't have to wait a year. We
Right.
can do this at
Yes.
any time. I
Yes.
totally agree with that.
And more than likely, we would wait until the semester, I think, just to be fair to the child too, and the transfer, unless it's some odd case. But, I don't want to lock us into that, but I think we'll be very careful and very diligent. We don't want to hurt a child, but at the same time, we've got to do what's best for our entire district.
The transfer agreement, is that something that the parent and student sign?
I don't know if the student signs, the parent does, and it has the rules in it, and they're very aware, and then the principals are very good about making sure they understand even the current rules. They make sure the student understands what your obligation is in order to stay here as at APISD. So if you're good with that one, we'll have that one cleaned up and brought back to you for consideration for approval.
Does anyone have any questions?
Just one more to add. So the initial agreement goes through you if we need to terminate that transfer, but are there ever amendments? Is there anything else that happens with those agreements? you know, depending on the circumstances of that child, if it's a behavioral or academics, and you see that there's progress or other issues, do you have the opportunity to go back and revise that agreement as a condition for during that semester?
Well, in my former district, we had this in place. And so before we revoked, we did everything, and I would say we would do that here. We would do everything we can to show we did our due diligence to try to help the child be able to stay here. I've even had it where you would give them like so many weeks and you must abide by this but once it's been revoked, then, you know, they would have to go through the entire application process again for the next year.
Okay.
We would then look at all of their, you know, did they bring their grades up? Did they turn things around before we would even approve them again? So that would have to be a whole new start up if that's what you're asking.
Well, only because something that you said earlier about that sometimes things don't surface until after they're here, right? And so you do the initial agreement, they've transferred, they're here, but if something else surfaces, can you go back to that agreement and modify to say, okay,
That's what this is allowing them to do.
okay.
That's
Right.
what this is gonna allow them to
Yeah,
do.
it
Do you have
gives
to
us-
wait for the semester to do that, or can
No.
you do that mid?
No.
Okay.
No, we can do it
They
at
gotta
any
abide by the rules
time.
of the agreement. It's in the statement, they got, you know, the rules of agreement has all that stuff in it when they sign that agreement, that, you know, they're not, you know, they're not in DAP or something, another campus trying to transfer to get out of that.
Right.
and-
But if I, let me suggest this, or you asked, what I hear you saying is if after the transfer is approved, something surfaces to the extent that we don't want them to be a student here. Is that what you're asking?
Or, yeah, what I'm saying is, are you locked into that? Because if something surfaces after they've already been accepted and the agreement's in place, can you go back and modify that agreement because there's another type of,
Another piece of information we didn't
another
have.
piece of information, another deficiency,
Well,
something
that's
else that
what
has
this
to?
is for. That's because if, you know, we should know everything going in, but if something, usually it's something changes for the child or something's different. I mean, we look at their grades, we look at their attendance, we look at all of those things, their star results. We look at all of that for consideration to come in. But then things happen, you know, maybe they were right on the borderline and we're giving them a chance and they come in and they're not doing well here. Then that's where we start trying to work with them, talk with the parents and try to see if we can get them to turn around. But if we can see that, you know, they're just not cooperating, they become a discipline problem, they're just not doing any of their work and they're failing everything after multiple tries of trying to help the children, then that's when, you know, there is no modification to the agreement. They didn't meet the agreement, one or all areas, and we will revoke them.
So it'll just be by semester, though?
No.
No.
No, I just use that as an example. No, ma'am.
That's just ideal
It will
for the
be,
student to transition
because
out.
I don't recommend locking us into that because every situation is different. Every child is different. I was just using that as an example that our heart is for kids, no matter who the kids are, whether they're a transfer or not. So we're going to try our best to make sure, and that's what I'll be asking the principals when they send me something to provoke a transfer. What did you do to help the child? What kind of communication happened? So we will come up with our own administrative regulations of how this will look. You know, that you did this before it comes to me. Then I will look at it and say, yes, that's very obvious that this child or family is just not cooperating, and it's time to cut the ties.
Could you send us, you know, where you're talking about the agreement they sign, could you send us a copy of that agreement? Because there's probably stuff in that agreement that kind of covers some of those questions that we have, that when they sign an agreement, they abide by these rules.
Yes.
And that may clarify some questions if we have a copy of that agreement.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Did that help, Ms.
Yes, and I
Butler?
think
Okay.
the sample, I just thought, you know, if you learn of a violation after they're already here, you learn of something that, you know, that we need to also make as a condition of the transfer in order to.
Well,
move
I
forward.
guess they're not, it's a standard transfer agreement though. You're not doing a customization based on whether the
No.
kid had a behavioral issue
No.
or, you know,
Ah,
something of the sort.
okay.
So it's just a standard.
Well, yeah,
But
and
I
we
guess
don't.
If they miss something like a behavioral thing, this would allow them to revoke that if maybe it was still in process of being filed at their old school and didn't make it into their transfer file, I guess, if something like that
That's
ever
what I mean, they,
happened, then
something we learn of after
yeah,
the fact.
they would be able
And by
to
law,
revert.
we're not supposed to take in consideration, like if they're a special needs student or things like that.
Oh, no.
You know, really, we should treat them all fair and equal.
Mm-hmm.
But except if they have a, something that they need that we can't offer them, and we would let them know we don't have that capability to offer that type of service. Because they have to have a free, appropriate education by FERPA.
Yeah, I wasn't going there.
Yeah.
I was just,
Okay.
if there was something else that surfaced, that's what my concern was, is do you just revoke or do you amend to add that to say, okay, this is also gonna be a condition now that it's come to our attention, or now that we have.
Well, that could happen if the principal says, look, I see a hope in this child. I would really like to try to keep them because all their siblings are in the system. And if they will try to do X, Y, Z in this time period, then we might you can still stay without revoking just the one child and leaving the rest. But that, once again, I really rather not put all that in a policy because that locks us in. So if we could just have the ability to be able to do, this from the policy standpoint, give us the authority to be able to do that, and then we will make the administrative regulations to ensure that it's done fairly for all, and with, like I said at the beginning, to ensure that that we take care of our in-district kids first and foremost, and transfers are their guest. They're guest in our community, and they should, just like any guest in your home, should come in the home and treat it the way it should be treated. If not, then usually you ask your guests, they may leave. So that's kind of, hoping we don't have to do that. And it's, since I've been here, there haven't been that many that we've even discussed. Boy, we really wish we had that opportunity. It's not, I haven't heard them say that many times that we even have that issue, but it's just something we'd like to be able to have to use if needed.
Well, the school sends you all the records anyhow, so anything
Yes.
you had to the other district, you should be able to get notified any derogatory comments or discipline, whatever they have. So that should be there, part of the school records when they get in. So you'll use that to evaluate whether you're gonna transfer them or not. You approve their transfer.
And if something came up, then I guess underneath the principals, when she was speaking of the administrators, doing whatever they can to help that child. If that's a stipulation that a principal felt like they needed to say, hey, you're being disruptive or whatever, then that would probably fall under
Yes.
that procedure of
Yes.
whatever the principals did before the revocation would have to happen.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, moving on. Next item is the updated organizational chart.
Okay, you saw our very different organizational chart, and where this began is as we have grown a little with some needed areas with the ESSER funding, having some people that have been out on extended leave, basically just evaluating our whole processes, all of our processes and our procedures as we have been preparing ourselves and setting ourselves to fight the good fight, to help close these gaps and to provide that social, emotional support. So with that, I thought it'd been a while since we looked at our org chart. And I was trying to make sure that we divide and conquer, you might say, so that I don't overwhelm any one person in the district, because there's so much we need to do, and we want to be very focused and make sure we're doing it at the highest level. So that was the purpose of really coming back and looking at this. And in doing so, looking at the org chart, we found one that I felt was very reflective of, I think, what us as a leadership team is what we're trying to do, that collaborative learning organization, where as Board of Trustees, you see that where you're wrapping around the whole portion with the superintendent, and then each of the key areas where the learner being in the center. I just thought this was a great visual instead of doing a top-down type hierarchy of what we're trying to do. I felt like that from the time we had our summit back so long ago now, through developing our vision, our goals, our beliefs, our Panther Pathway learning design and all that, and everything that we've been trying to do as an administrative team, and what I believe from you as we build ourselves as a team of 8, being that collaborative unit, and that we all are interworking together, and the flow. And I think it's so important that that we see how it interconnects. And so this is the new look we'd like to use, instead of that hierarchy, to show that we are different here, and we look at things differently, and it's all about the learner, and we all wrap around that. Then our goal is to put this on the website, and then you'd be able to click. So like if you click on student services, then the background information was the other document you had, and this was what's happening there. So like under assistant superintendent, student services, you have the student health services, maintenance, transportation, athletic, food services, alternate ed, truancy, parent liaison, district discipline oversight, safety oversight, grants access oversight, and so forth. So we basically work together as a team to develop this, with getting input from different stakeholders within our system. And I wanted to bring it to you tonight to see if there's anything you wanted to add or take away from it, because we'd really like to put this out on our website here ASAP. So we kind of because I think it's very much needed for our staff mainly. This probably affects in-house more than anywhere, but it also can affect parents if they want to know, who do I need to talk to about, say, a gifted and talented program. Well, they would know when they look at instruction or academic services, they click on that and they go in and they see that the gifted and talented program is overseen by the curriculum department and so forth. So it gives a little clearer direction, because we noticed lately that even in-house, with all of this changing so fast and so many moving parts, it was kind of like, okay, now who's overseeing that? Now who's going to do that? And so we hope getting this real clean and clear, and all of us being focused, and as we continue to work together, that we will be able to truly meet the needs of all of our students. So this is just a different approach to it, but I think very reflective of where we're trying, what we're about. Is everybody okay with that?
Well, with that explanation, the visual is, it's on point.
Yeah, well, I like it because it kind of delegates, especially for the parents, that if I need to talk to somebody about something, I don't necessarily have to go to you to try to get you to tell me to go talk to that person. I can just go talk to that person that's in charge of that. So it gives them, and I like that because it kind of really delegates the responsibility for each area in the school to one of your staff in that. So it helps us. It helps us too. So
Right.
If we have a problem, something we need to discuss, we can go talk to that person about that problem instead of knocking on your door and you're sending us to that person. We can figure out who we need to go see.
Where on the website would this go exactly? Do we know?
We haven't decided that yet.
I was just curious because we have a lot on our website already, so I was just wondering how easy, because this seems like it'll be a great resource, but I was wondering how easy it'll be to find. So
Well, with any website, that's the case.
there's
You
always a
have to
caveat.
click here and there.
Anybody have any questions? There are no questions. The next item is an update on the upcoming overnight student trips.
These are, we have 3 different trips, our Lady Panther basketball, our boys basketball, and then the NJROTC. And these have all been approved by policy through my office, but I bring them to you for information so you'll know when we're going to have students away overnight. Any questions?
Are there any questions on the trips?
In the past, we've had some deals where we've had girls go on a trip, like basketball or whatever, volleyball, whatever, and it's coached by an all-man, and they had all men going with them on trips, and I think there should always be at least one woman with them.
Okay.
I don't think it should be all men, because, you know, it's girls, you don't know what problem it is gonna be.
Okay.
I think Coach Smith is going, on this one, though, we have a female coach, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Miss Coach Smith? Chelsea?
Chelsea.
I hope everyone does well. Those competitions.
Does NJROTC have any volunteers going with him?
I'm sorry?
Does NJROTC have any volunteers going with him? I notice, I guess it's commander and senior chief.
Yes, sir.
I didn't see anybody else listed as going with them.
Oh, you're talking about on the chaperone
Yes.
information?
Right. And I think speaking to Mr. Flores' point, I know I have a daughter, and daughterly things happen that I as a dad don't like to hear about. I'd rather her go to mom, and if they don't have that female, that person they can go to, then
Right.
I think that's kind of speaking to what he's talking about.
Right.
Is this one, okay, for the 40 students.
Right. Any other questions? Calendar of upcoming events.
Those are FYI for you. And I try to put each week in the weekly update, anything that's coming up. Of course, it's all on our website too.
And just for, well, I guess the NGRTC has a Randy military inspection on the 18th at 9 a.m. So, and that's where the district comes in and looks at our unit and approves them and make sure. And if they don't do well, then we could actually lose that unit here, and they'll take it out of here. So that's kind of important. So, so if you're available that morning, you can kind of come out and support the cadets, because they usually go out there and do a march, and they do a pass by, and they do inspections, and they do all, they do everything they do ready for contest. But, if you're not seen them do it before, it's very impressive.
Agenda item 5 are the financial reports. Included in the board package is your accounts payable, budget status and investment report, tax collection report, and bond finance report, and FEMA projects. Does anybody have any questions on accounts payable?
I will try to answer. Ms. Stansberry is attending a workshop in the Austin area.
Budget status and investment report, tax collection report. I believe Ms. Cook has some information for us on the bond finance report and the FEMA report.
Okay. Well, if you had any questions,
Okay.
did you?
Let me rephrase that. Does anybody have any questions on those two reports?
I mean, I can go through it and try to explain it to the best of my ability. I think the main thing was trying to show you, probably the thing you need to make sure you noticed was on the last page for the summary of pending projects, that we do have some areas that are being retracted or reduced from FEMA. So where we had pending funding of $1,080,386.77, with the reductions of, looks like about $478,000 through the FEMA process. The adjusted pending funding now is $601,882.69. If y'all remember at the beginning of this, we said that FEMA funding is pending, means might happen, might not. So here we are at the end of it. They are starting to pull back on some things. So we have currently in the bank $1,170,647.52 from FEMA. If we get the whole $601,000, which I'll tell you we won't, they're going to. We already know some other things they're working on pulling off. We would get a $1.7 million, which helps to go back towards the bond paying for the athletic complex. So that's our hope, that we'll still stay pretty close to that. But basically what we're looking at is let's see, did I give you that? I don't know if I gave y'all that. Y'all might want to see this. This might be a good thing for you to see, just so you understand. So let me give you this one. On that note, I think this would be helpful for you. So when you look at the concession stand baseball, softball complexes, this is expenditure report, and it kind of helps you see where we are in our expenditures. And this is just so you see where we started with $4.5 million for the cost of the project. We had two change orders. One was the sewer line for $71,000 change order, 2 guardrails, $396,000, which gave the total to Weaver and Jacobs Construction $5,037,603.89. Then you see the fees, along with the rebuilding and resodding of the fields, brought our total concession stand expenditures to $5,747,078.58. So that's the total construction piece. With the money that's been moved from fund balance already, and then what is pending. That's not on this page, but with that, you have moved $3,271,000 with amendment number 1 from fund balance, $923,623, amendment number 2 from fund balance. We had capital projects of $1,899,255, which was our capital projects account. Once this all shakes out, if we get the pending reimbursement, that's the bottom line. You want to hear that? I know there's a lot of numbers coming at you fast. Total pending, if we get the $1.7 million we mentioned earlier, we would still have in fund balance $3,674,236.97. The worst case scenario could be if we did not get any of that pending $601,000, then it would bring us down to just over $3 million in fund balance. We don't feel like we're going to lose that much, but I just need you to be aware. And that is with us putting the unused funds back in the fund balance of $346,799.
That does include that?
It does include that.
Okay.
Where is that at? I'm sorry.
You don't have that one. That was
Oh,
my
okay.
figures that I did, trying to be prepared to answer any of your questions, but I can restate any of that if you'd like me to.
Kara, change order number 2 on the guardrails, that was guardrails and culverts, correct?
Sorry?
That just wasn't for guardrails, that was guardrails and the extension of the culverts from the baseball field?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I'm sorry. Yes, all of that extra that we did along Victory Lane,
I
yes,
don't say
sir.
that's expensive guardrails.
Yeah. No, it was all those extra culverts and so forth, yes, sir.
So worst case, if we do not receive additional reimbursement for FEMA, what would our fund balance be?
Well, right now, if we get everything that we're looking to get from FEMA, we would still have $3,674,236.97.
If we get it, okay.
That's if we, so what's pending is that $601,882.69. So that's still an unknown. So I was just trying to give you the worst case scenario. We would still be just over $3 million.
And that's not taking out the 100,000 that punch list.
No.
No, because we put that whole
Was
$346,000 back in.
for the budget year.
That you had already approved, we did unused, so we put it back. So tonight, you'll come up to amend, 2 budget amendments. One will be asking for that 100,000 if you want to move move forward with other projects, and the other is for 65,000, which actually wasn't from, that's not from fund balance, that was from, well, actually it is, because it went back into fund balance now. It's when we took all those monies and we put them together from unused funds at the end of the summer, and we put it together to do beautification and do some air conditioning units. And then the air conditioning unit did not get completed at AC Blunt by the time the year ended. So that is already an expenditure that we need to pull this $65,000 back over. We just weren't able to get it done in time before the books closed. So that would basically be $165,000 coming back over out of the numbers I gave you. Yes.
Okay.
So I know that's very, I just kept trying to, I told Cheryl, I said, how do I make this as simple as possible? Because that's a lot of moving parts. But
To be in good standings, where do we need to what should we have in here at all given time for the worst case scenario?
I don't remember what our auditor said. You might remember, Victor.
I think it's 2 months, 2 months for.
Well, it's usually 3 months. It's 3 months operating, but I don't remember the number.
I've got it here, hold on, somewhere.
It seems like we're getting really close to that.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So as of August 31st, 2020, when we did the audit, our general fund balance was sitting at 5.8 million. Our optimal fund balance was 4.6. Line 13 report shows an excess of 1.1. So philosophically, as a best practice, one of the things they recommend is 3 months of operating income, which is about $1 million, which is about $3 million, and then your deductible, if you can afford to do that. So, I mean, we're at a point now to where it's going to be time to rebuild our fund balance back up.
That 4.6 included the deductible,
No.
the optimal, 4.6 optimal?
No.
Oh,
All it is, what happens is they do an audit report, and it's a bunch of mathematical calculations. And at the end, they give you an auditor's report of what your actual fund balance is and what your optimal fund balance is, which is.
A healthy district looks like,
Right.
basically.
And that,
So,
I mean,
yeah.
there's a lot of variables there. You got rural school district versus wealthy school districts.
Okay.
And, where you're at, so.
Well, the 4.6 optimum is is where we need to get back to,
Right.
and with our high deductible, a little over 5 million. To have 3 months operating and cover our deductible.
okay.
I didn't remember what the audit said, but I knew that I didn't bring all that paperwork in here, but I had like 5 point something when we figured it because of our high deductible. So the goal now is to, as Mr. Galvan was saying, is to, finish out this project with our due diligence, and then being good stewards to move forward and really, that's where we're all working to be as tight as we can, but we do have a lot of things we've got to get done moving ahead of us. How do we use the ESSER funding, the T-class funding? That's why adding a couple of these, it seems like we're adding a few extra personnel people, but it's because I have all this money we're trying to manage to make sure that we're trying to make the very best decisions so that the way we move forward with closing these gaps, doing all the things we need to do, but we can also offset some things from our local budget to try to help us try to get, it's going to be a shell game, basically, to make sure that we use this money that we've been blessed with wisely to get things done, and then hopefully also begin to slowly put money back into the fund balance. With the growth of, with the student, the saving grace will be students coming, because if we can have more students come, then that will enable us to make that happen.
Well, no, and I want to add something. I'm just going to get on a soapbox here. Since Hurricane Harvey, we have done a lot around here. I mean, the reconstruction of Harvey itself was mammoth. Then we had a flood during the bond projects.
Yes.
Then we had the bond money to spend. Then we had insurance money. Then we had FEMA.
Mm-hmm.
We've done a lot of work. We've done the AC replacements across the district that weren't part of the hurricane. We've done a new phone system by Computer Command, a new intercom system, a new roof at the high school in Keyburger that weren't part of the bond. It was under the other projects. We, through Wayne's collaboration with the police chief, we found out we had multiple doors at the high school that didn't have the same keys. I think police chief told us if they had to respond, they had like a set of 32 keys they had to go through to try to figure out which one worked at the door,
Yeah.
at the doors. So, I mean, we invested in rekeying the high school doors. That was $30,000. The glass at the front of the high school was in bad condition. Kira got that done. That was $19,000. Wireless access points by Computer Command, that was $14,000. High school doors were replaced, $24,000. Middle school doors were replaced, $20,000. The tilt walls outside the high school were deteriorating. That was $167,000. The surveillance systems at the cameras at Marshall, Blunt, and High School, I think we updated them. That was $90,000. The door at the middle school gym and doors at the high school, field house, and Keyburger, there was another $20,000. Chromebooks, we didn't even talk about Chromebooks in COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
That all fell under the other bond funds. That was $341,400. Playground equipment at Keyburger, a new school at Keyburger, a new gym. We had a bait Fox school when we tore it down because we had asbestos in it. So I mean, the list just goes on and on. I mean, we thought we've seen out the end of the tunnel, and something else has popped up,
Yeah.
and something else has popped up. But there's a lot of work, a lot of infrastructure, and a lot of facilities that we've improved since 2017. Surely there was a lot of savings in AC work at Falk, as old as that building was. So surely we saved some money with electricity there. So I mean, we've done a lot of work. This project now is kind of seeing the light I was talking about and getting back to rebuilding that fund balance that we had. So there's been a lot of work going on around here.
Well, and I agree, and it makes me tired just hearing all that now. But yes, there has been, and I think it's just a matter of the fund. Every time we've received funds, whether it was after Harvey, through FEMA, through grants, through ESSER, through the T-class grant, any grants we go after, or through our local budget, I think it's just showing that we just continue to be wise stewards, make conscious decisions, looking at the whole picture. I do think it would be timely for us soon to sit down as a team of 8 and really look at our facilities as a whole and your next goals and thoughts moving forward as we look towards building our fund balance, but also what's our vision for moving forward in the district. So set those goals and then set our sights on that, because there's a lot of grant money out there. There's a lot of different ways, but because I think, having the students come here, we have to create a place they want to come to. It's about our programs, it's about what we offer, and along with our facilities. So I think, kudos to all the work that's been done, but there's still so much to do. And I think if we continue to be wise and work well, here in another year or so, we'll have another long list, hopefully, of things that we've accomplished. So I didn't tell you all that to discourage you, but just I think it's always important that we revisit where we are so we continue to be careful. It's just kind of like looking at your checking account, making sure, we're staying being vigilant on what we do, so,
Well, actually, if you look at it, there's things that we need and we've been needing.
yes.
So the money, as far as I'm concerned, is well spent.
Absolutely.
I think that's without being said, but at the same time, we don't want to dip in we'll always have wish lists.
Right.
And now I think we're at the point where we need to look at necessity versus the wants and needs, until we see that 5
Come back
million
up.
comfortable zone again.
Right.
Because all of that windfall that was coming is not coming anymore, so
Yeah.
there's and the grants are always a plus. We should always be striving to find a grant to spend money with, but, this is my checking account. I would be a little concerned at how low it's getting. Happy that everything's paid for, but at the same time,
Yeah.
slowing down, so, good job.
All right, the next item is the consent agenda. Does anybody have any corrections to the minutes of the October 11th regular board meeting and the October 13th special board meeting? If there are no questions, I have a motion to approve the minutes as submitted by administration.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Mullinack. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Olivia. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's approved. Next action item is to consider and approve the resolution casting a vote for Oasis County Appraisal District Board of Directors. And I believe in your package is the resolution. There's 2 individuals, Leo Gonzalez from Aransas Pass and Erasimo Eddie Martinez. And we have a total of 1 vote.
I wondered about that. Everybody else is 70 or.
Well, this is Oasis County, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, your
Anybody
one
know-
Much
vote
of
could be
Oasis
the
County is in
deciding.
Aransas, okay.
Anybody know Mr. Gonzalez?
All I know is he's from Aransas Pass, so my vote's going to
I never
Aransas
heard of
Pass.
him.
so.
He's also an incumbent, so, so he was there last time, so.
All right, so I have a motion to approve the resolution casting APISD votes in favor of Mr. Gonzalez.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Mullinack and a second by Mr. Rector. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's approved. Item B is to consider approve the 2021 tax levy. And that has been presented to us by Marcella Thornland of tax assessor for San Patricio County. Does anybody have any questions on the levy?
This is basically just showing you what, in August where you adopted the tax rate and so forth, this is actually just showing you the actual
The
proceed,
values.
the values for that decision that's already been made, so.
Do I have a motion to approve the 21 tax levy?
So move.
Motion by Mr. Director. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Flores. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. Next item C is to consider approve the budget amendments. Ms. Cook already discussed briefly. The first amendment is the AC unit at AC Blunt Middle School that we previously approved. Was not completed. We were waiting on the unit to be manufactured. Matthews Air Conditioning has notified the district that the unit's been shipped and should arrive in mid-November. We're requesting that the board approve the unspent fund appropriations be moved forward into the 21-22 school year. Are there any questions? That amount is $65,000. If there are no questions, I have a motion to approve the budget amendment to move the unspent funds appropriations for the AC to be moved to the 21-22 budget.
So move.
Motion by Ms. Butler. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Olivia. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's approved. The second one is for the for the funds that were approved for the building at our complex. I believe that amount was how much, Ms. Cook, originally?
The original amount was 3 million.
No, how much was unspent? It was
Oh, the
300,000.
unspent, oh, sorry. So I don't remember that off the top of my head. 368. Find it again. Well, that includes the, well, the unused funds from the amendments was 346,799.
That was for both?
That was for both.
Okay.
So that'd be a little under 200.
So administration is requesting, Ms. Cook is recommending
300.
that we move $100,000 for the list that she provided to us earlier. Do I have a motion to approve the budget amendment to move $100,000 of the unspent fund appropriations to the 21-22 budget?
Wait, question.
Yes.
Was this the rounding up when we talked about that list earlier?
Mhm.
That we're round up because we have a couple items pending?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
I just want to make sure. Thank you.
Again, do I have a motion to move the $100,000 to the 21-22 budget?
So move.
I have a motion by Mr. Rector. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Mullinack. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's approved. Item D is to consider approve a revision to the sick leave resolution. Ms. Cook.
Yes, we brought this to you, I believe it was last month, and then afterwards we realized we put it retroactive to the first of school when the teachers came back August 2nd. We actually had 2 employees during July that were out due to COVID. And so I just want to bring it back to you for consideration. I felt I felt really bad that we didn't realize that, and if we had put the date back to June 1st, we would have made sure we included anybody that had been sick during the summer. We were a little more focused on the staff that was coming back and what was happening then. But to be fair, because our previous one ended the end of May, and so really what I should have done that first time was bring it back to you and say from June 1st to the end of May to make it encompass the whole year. So I'd like you to consider just making that revision to going back to June 1st. Therefore, those 2 employees are not left out of this.
Does anyone have any questions? If not, do I have a motion to approve the revised resolution of the board regarding extended sick leave during the pandemic, beginning June 1st, 2021 and expires June 21, 2022.
So move.
Motion by Ms. Butler. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Olivia. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. Item E is to consider approve a resolution for leave adjustments during weather-related closures.
This one is for the September 13th, 2021 missed instructional day during one of our floods that we had. And this is an option that you as a board of trustees can have to either have the employees all make a day up, but when it's something like this, which is considered a disaster, a natural disaster or something beyond everyone's control, you have the option to give this leave adjustment. That way the employees will not have to make that day up. So like teachers that have a 187 contract, they would have a 186 instead of 187 and still be paid at their same rate. If you do not wish to do this, what it would mean is then we would all come and work on Good Friday before Easter, because that is built into the calendar, and so that is an option to have the employees do that. But I just thought I'd bring it to you for consideration, just in light of, I think that would be quite a detriment to the morale to say you have to come on
I
Good
agree
Friday.
You know, with what our staff's had to go through for the last year and a half, that we don't need a doctor pay for a day for something that's out of our control, for like the weather. So, you know, and that, so for just for round purposes, nothing else, I think it's a good idea to continue that on.
Is this an action item?
It is an action item.
Yes.
I agree. I think we need to be a good employer. Any other questions?
What does it cost us per day?
Well, it won't cost you any more. You just, because everybody's going to just, it'll cost us the same, because either the cost won't be different. The difference is whether they work for that day and come on the Good Friday or not. The cost will remain the same.
Okay.
So it's already budgeted for that, and they're not gonna get extra
Right,
pay
there's
for it.
no savings or overage.
Yeah.
It's just, it's time. You're basically giving the gift of some time.
Okay.
I wouldn't say gift, we don't do gifts here, but that's taboo, but you know what I mean.
A blessing.
A blessing of time.
Do I have a motion to approve the resolution for leave adjustments during weather-related closure? A motion by Ms. Diasis, a second from Mr. Mullinack. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's approved. Next item is to convene an executive session as authorized by the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code. I'm sorry.
The top of future meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I jump over? Okay, John. What topics do you have for future meetings?
Yes.
Make sure you follow the agenda.
So you just made me stop. Okay.
Make sure you stay straight.
All right. All right, so we'll do this again. It's to convene an executive session as authorized by the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551.001, concerning any and all purposes permitted by the Act, Section 551.074, personnel, Section 551.074, Team of 8 communication, .074, to deliberate the possible appointment of a public officer or employees to the school guardian program, 551.076 and 551.089, to deliberate the deployment or specific occasions for implementation of security personnel, critical infrastructure, or security devices, 551.081, personally identifiable information about a public school student. It's now 8:32, and we'll convene an executive session, sorry. All right, let the record reflect the board has reconvened in open session. The time is now 9:56. Do I have a motion to table agenda item 6, the review of the training requirements for the school board members?
So moved.
A motion by Mr. Mullinack and a second by Ms. Diasis. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. Do I have a motion to approve a local teaching certificate utilizing the District of Innovation option for Hannah Rodriguez?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Mullinack and a second by Ms. Diasis. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Do I have a motion to approve the appointment of employees to the school guardian program as discussed in executive session?
So moved.
I have a motion by Ms. Diasis and a second by Ms. Olivia. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. And there being no other business before the board, time is now 9:57 and this meeting's adjourned.